Hello, my name's Bond, Richard Bond, and this is Curmudgeonly Yours, a show on Society Bites Radio, part of the Radio Ear Network family, supplying social interaction for the mind and soul. The introductory and concluding music to this show is La Polonaise by Wieniawski, played by Max Bond. I am your host and curmudgeon, where everything is what it seems. Nothing is what it seems. And what is not said is often of most interest. In her second appearance on Curmudgeonly Yours, my guest today is writer Kathryn Levison. And the program today is Kathryn Levison, a successful indie or independent writer. Hi, Kathryn. Welcome to Curmudgeonly Yours again on Society Bites Radio.
Hi, Richard. Thanks again for having me.
Love to have you. Kathryn Levison holds a double major in psychology and English composition from the University of Illinois at Chicago. She likes to say that she's also earned 2 honorary degrees from her analyst, an undergrad in psychoanalysis and a master's in not giving up. She's now working toward a doctorate in dedication to her path. She played flute, clarinet, and sax in the suburban Chicago Theater Pit orchestras, taught private lessons at a Michigan studio and during the pandemic, and offers beginner flute lessons on Skype. She has formal training in medicine, art, substance abuse counseling, computer graphic arts, and has worked in or applied all of those fields at one time or another. She's a 2-time cancer survivor who started writing seriously after her therapist turned out to be one of the nation's most esteemed and beloved psychoanalysts. He led her through the foundational curriculum of psychoanalytic psychotherapy while teaching her the nuances of the trade, intensive, focused listening, and intuitive application of hunches without making assumptions or judging. She lost her husband to a stroke in 2012, but went on to win a state award for their story, Baby Can I Bum a Cigarette, thanks to the encouragement of Donna Gould Musitano of Village Voices and Donna's Florida Writers Association critique group, also called Culture Coast Writers. Kathryn has 8 works self-published on Kindle, several that have very decent rankings for a novice who writes for herself. Different voices, different themes, whatever interests her, an ability that she considers a gift, much like the ability to play multiple instruments. Originally from the Chicago suburbs, she now lives on the Gulf Coast of Florida, making ends meet as a freelance blogger and sharing her 40-year-old single-wide trailer with her unique rescue dog, a former champion blue toy poodle. Kathryn, you firmly believe in the Florida Writers Association motto of writers helping writers, but have had mixed experiences with writer critique groups. Do you have any advice, especially for new writers, but maybe too for more seasoned group members on how to navigate the critique group waters?
I wish I could teach a class on how to survive it. I think the groups can be helpful. They helped me in ways I never thought. But one of the difficult things is there's kind of a thing that you say that the piece of writing is the author's baby. So it's really easy to say something that kind of murders the spirit. And I've seen people just give up writing. I've seen them just pick too much and they never publish anything, even on indie. And it almost happened to me. So it's like, you've got to be careful here. So I actually have a list of rules, and they save my heart, and they keep from crushing somebody else.
Well, you want to tell me some more there about that?
Oh, thank you for asking. Okay. Really, this is important. First rule, never ask a broad stroke question like, do you like this? Don't do that.
Okay.
Second, no, that's not helpful.
Got it.
And I'll say why later. If you've written something you want feedback, only take something you already like and then ask for specific. I have 3 examples. When I was finishing up Baby Can I Bum a Cigarette, there's a kind of fight scene. My husband and I had an argument while he was in the ICU, and I wrote his responses in what I called a stroke dialect, how someone would talk, I'm sorry, Katie, they talk funny.
Yeah.
And I took that to get feedback. Then I asked someone recently about houses, the first chapter in the Lucy books, the eventual memoir. And I said, you know what, did I bring in the dog too soon? Lucy's dad bought her a dog. Yeah, but the mother got rid of it really soon, and I realized I killed off a dog in like 1,000 words in the first of the book. And she said, no, that's good. It shows how toxic the mother was. I'm like, okay. And then Donna, I've been sending her little stanzas of Rodney the Rat.
Donna's the director of the group, of course, Culture Coast Writers.
Yes, yeah. She's like my coach, and I love her. So she said, well, this one, I don't like that you kind of broke the flow of the rhyme. But then she said, you break a lot of rules, so maybe I'm being picky. Well, I took another look. She was right. She was absolutely right. So I ended up doing a minor rewrite of 2 lines, and they set the stage for laying out the rest of the characters, which was sort of a stroke of genius, and I credit Donna.
Right, but, this treating writers with kid gloves and being afraid to ruffle their hair or anything, isn't that getting, it's like everything today. Everybody has a trophy, and everybody's afraid of criticism, and you can't push people the wrong way?
Well, my third rule then is it's just yes and no. I think we're here to bring our knowledge base and our personal experience to listen to what somebody else does. But okay. I decided at one point, if I don't like whatever the person is reading, we bring in like 10 pages. If I don't like it, if I really don't like it, I just recuse myself, and I come up with some kind of plausible fabrication, like fantasy, history, politics, poetry, and then one time, I wasn't here for the preceding chapters. I don't know how to give you feedback.
Yeah. It is a difficult thing. And people, you can see that people hold back all the time in these kind of groups. Because that was my next question. Why not just say I don't like it because, and just tell the truth?
I won't do it, and I'll tell you why not. I believe that falls into the category of not being gentle with the baby, that meaning the writer's offering that day. First of all, who says I'm the end-all, be-all when it comes to taste? I've had things that I just didn't like at all, and 2 or 3 other group members loved it. Maybe they had heard some of the other chapters. It's all taste. This is very much personal taste. There are certain genres I don't like, mostly romance novels, but there's other things that I just can't follow. When I had to take history class and current events in high school, it was a nightmare. I just can't hang on to all that stuff, and especially nuances of politics that actually they tick me off and they make me tired. So I also don't have the knowledge, and I don't have the knowledge base, so I'd end up having to look something up.
Yeah.
I have a couple of really funny examples.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
One of them I think is hysterical. So it kind of goes back to it goes back to my personal taste. I don't like political novels. I don't like historical novels. I get lost. But does my opinion make John Grisham a lousy writer? I don't think so. Okay. So what's really funny is I have a friend who is much more learned in politics than I. And this person said, so-and-so is a Manchurian candidate. I had to stop what I was doing and Google Manchurian candidate. The only background I have on that phrase is the movie with Denzel Washington, where they like brainwash him with lights and sounds and all this other stuff, and he's programmed with a keyword, and I think it was to pull a trigger and to kill the other candidate or whatever it was. And it's like, okay, that's so outlandish. Go look up the phrase.
I wonder what movie that was. Anyway.
There's Manchurian it was originally done, I think, with Frank Sinatra. There's an older version, and then they did a remake with Denzel and Meryl Streep. I don't remember who else was in that.
Okay.
I actually like the guy who said Manchurian Candidate. We butt heads maybe if we actually had a conversation about politics. But
Sure.
It's like, no, I like him. And it's cool because I learned something. Then there's the other guy in the critique group. The truth is, this is true. Personally, I find you an intolerable bore. So I don't care how good your writing is. I think it stinks.
That's just personality. It's just because you don't like the guy.
He was, well, and what he did was come at me way too often, and he was wrong because he didn't understand. Seriously, he doesn't understand psychology. He has no clue about psychoanalysis. He has no clue about other things I write about. But that's okay. So I just ignored him. So that night, that's where I came up with the fabrication. I'm really sorry. I don't have enough background to give decent feedback. So is it okay if I pass?
Okay.
It worked.
So
worked.
that goes to your next point, I think. Number 4.
Yep. Number 4. I have 5 rules, and number 4 is always find one thing to compliment. One thing. I've done that where just, boy, that was a good. We go around and everybody gets to say their comment about the piece. It got to me, and I said, this word is just brilliant. We had a guy who wrote, it's kind of I would call it fan fiction about William Shakespeare.
Really?
And he had a phrase where the woman had her hands on her hips, and I know his vocabulary, and I said, you know what? What if you wrote akimbo, arms akimbo? And he was that's great. Yeah.
Really?
So, or I'll say this flows well, and I'll leave it at that. I won't pick.
Okay.
And so that goes to number 5. Don't sit there. I call it being a psychological literary executioner. People will go and say, okay, well, here, this is wrong, and you missed the comma here, and you missed this over here, and you misspelled that. Well, these are rough drafts, for Pete's sakes.
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no reason to not do a little line editing, but what I do is I circle, and usually you don't have to even say why. I'll put like spelling, or if you got a comma or something in place, I'll just circle a little bit, and then I'll say I circled a few places. I'll give my compliment, and then I'll say I circled a few places. They're obvious, and I give it back.
It's just like a technical thing, that you work on.
Yeah, like we don't. Yeah, you don't need to spell all that out. That's why there's notes, and we scribble on. For people who don't know how a critique group works. Real quickly, there are certain people who you sign up to read, and you start at the top and bring in no more than 10 pages, double-spaced, and you read your piece. Everybody is following along. You bring in enough copies, and while you're reading, they circle this, that, make notes, whatever, and then we go around the room, and each person has an opportunity to comment on their perception or their feedback of the page. So that's how that works. So when we're all done, the writer gets all of those sets of pages back with everybody's notes. You can take them home and look. So it's not rocket science. So they're going to find what you scribbled. And I think we could either put our name on it or not. And I always put my name she'd know where it came from.
Got it.
So that goes to the last thing, which is kind of
summarize this a bit.
Yeah, hang tight here. It's like, and here's where you can kill somebody. And this is, like every time anybody does that to you, picks at every detail, says, I really don't like this, blah, blah, blah. My thing